Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for March 21st. I'm your host, Aaron Armstrong, and I am, for the unprecedented third time in a row, here on my own. This one was not even planned. Some last-minute changes, apparently, that I was not aware about. And I'm here by myself again, so I apologize, but you're just getting more of me here. So I'm here to talk to you about everything that's been happening on the Big Brother Canada 7 live feeds yesterday. And, guests, they're missing out. They're missing out on this one because this is a big time update today. We had a big day. Big day on the feeds. Lots of stuff going on. Very exciting. So it's gonna be a fun time, and you guys are gonna hang out with me here in the chat. So let's get this going. So yesterday on Big Brother Canada 7 on the feeds, we had Damian talking to Adam. As we talked about the day before, there was a bunch of drama between Anthony and Adam, and Anthony trying to push Adam toward, hey, you gotta get Sam out and blah blah blah. And Anthony told Adam that Damian was coming for him, and that hey, we need to watch out for that. Anthony has been kind of circling around the idea of potentially voting Damian out this week. We talked about that even all the way back on the round table. And so Adam was saying that he needed to talk to Damian about all of this. Like, hey, Damian, what's going on? Who are you coming after? So Adam has a talk with Damian in the morning, and, Damian's like, no, I'm not coming for you. Everything's cool. We're all good. And so Adam was like, cool, we're fine. Everything's fine. We're good. Let's move on. Not much else is going on in the morning until Caelynn decides to call her house meeting. Now, we talked about this as well, that Caelynn was thinking about calling a house meeting or having some kind of big speech or whatever that may or may not indicate that maybe she got the twist and that she has some information to reveal. That is not the case. She did not have information to reveal, but she did call a house meeting that was not entirely a house meeting because it did not include Sam, Chelsea, or Adam. And in this house meeting, minus Sam, Chelsea, or Adam, she reveals to everyone, I'm actually a social media mogul. I mean, not 29. I'm not 29. I'm sorry, guys. I'm 42 years old. And also, I'm married. And also, I have children. And also, those children have 8-packs, and they're awesome. And everyone was like, yeah? Oh, was there... Oh, that was it. Okay. Oh, what a surprise. She told them about her family. She has a wonderful husband and children. A little bit about her life story and why she's here. I don't really. We'll probably get some kind of diary room from her, which explains the master plan behind all of this, but it just kind of lands. That's basically it. She also talks a little bit about Adam and Sam and them, of course, but beyond that, not much happening in this meeting. However, there are some unintentional consequences, and they don't really stem from the meeting itself, but Dane is going to talk to Adam after the meeting. Adam was not included in the meeting, so Adam wants to know from Dane, what was she saying? What was happening? What went on here? And Dane says, oh, it was nothing. She was just talking about her life and so on and so forth, admitting that she's not 29. We knew. We tasted her cooking. Come on. And so Adam's like, okay, so, but then did she talk about us? And you're like, yeah, she kind of talked about you guys, but like, don't worry, like, things are fine because the target has totally shifted from you to Sam and Chelsea. Like, Sam and Chelsea are the targets now. That's great for us. They're gonna be the targeted ones. They'll probably go on the block together at this point. Like, things are working great. I am finally gonna get Sam. Sam. I'm Dane and I need Sam out. And so they have this conversation, and things are looking fine for them, except for the fact that Sam was nearby and overheard some of this conversation. She didn't overhear a lot of this conversation, but she heard them talk about the names Sam and Chelsea and getting them out, and just, it was very, very sketchy to her. And when you take that and you combine it with all of the things that Adam has been saying, that even just yesterday I was saying he says all these things, but they think he's so dumb that they don't believe it's even possible that he might be doing something more nefarious. But if you take this conversation where he is doing something nefarious and you combine it with everything that he's ever said, Sam starts to think, oh no. What have we done? So Sam goes to Chelsea and Kira and tells them that she just overheard Adam and Dane talking about something that regarded her and Chelsea, and that it seems like they're working together, that they're targeting the women, and she doesn't know what to think about this. This is very, very bad, very dangerous. She doesn't like this. And luckily for them, Kira is in the room. Kira, sort of again, with the best perception of the games, or the clearest head amongst them in terms of being able to see what other people are doing and not underestimating them quite as much, is able to be like, wait, if Adam and Dane are working together, if they're secretly working together and pitting the women against Anthony must be working with Anthony. They're constantly talking about Anthony and protecting Anthony too, and Anthony's doing the same thing. He has the same motivations. I wonder if they're all three of them working together, if they made some kind of deal to protect the guys and target the women. Think about it. Why have the guys not been targeted? There are all these big guys in the house and none of them are targets, but the women are the targets? Something is up there. Something is wrong. And so they start to go down this path, and they're like, okay, so Adam's been working with Dane. That's why he's been so protective of Dane. That's why he always freaks out. Why he says he's always got his boys. And it's just like, we're being used to go after Esty and Kiki, and Esty and Kiki are coming after us. We feel so stupid. Why? Chelsea in particular is just like, oh my God. I thought I was running this game. I thought I had set myself up so well this week, but I'm actually like screwed right now. I'm in a hole right now. I'm like the biggest target in the house. How did this happen? No, this did not happen. They are not smart enough. Chelsea refuses to believe it. She says, no. Adam is not that smart. These guys are not that smart. They did not come together day one and agree before they knew anyone, before any relationships blossomed, that they would just give each other their games and protect each other and like that. No, that is not what happened. I refuse to believe it. But Kira is like, no, they have just adapted faster than us. They should not be underestimated. This is happening. Chelsea is just having such a hard time believing that she's been outsmarted by these dummies. But it's true. And she's also so, like, she really thought she had a good hold on this game. But it turns out that she didn't. And she feels torn between the embarrassment of like, oh my God, if this is true, I look like an idiot. I'm like, this strong woman who's been led around by the hand by these men who have been pitting me against other women, and I've been falling for it. Like, no, that is not okay. We need to change this. But at the same time, like, I would rather I live in a reality where that's not true, where I am in charge of the house and everybody is doing what I want them to do. And so she's having a hard time believing it, but she does eventually come around to this idea. And so she's pissed, though. She's very pissed. And so they start to wonder, okay, wow, all right. So if those three guys are together, like, what do we do? Well, how do we move forward here? We're in deep trouble. And so do we need to go to Kiki and Esty and tell them about this? We need to tell them that the men have a secret deal going on and that they're running the house and that they're pitting us against each other. That's what we need to do. And they go, wait, but hold on. We need to wait. We need to wait until the HOH competition because we don't know who's going to win HOH. If one of the guys win HOH, we can't have just gone to these women and tried to flip them against the guys. Like, no, we'll wait until the HOH happens. If Esty or Kiki win the HOH, then we'll go to them and pitch them this idea that, hey, the guys are running the house. We need to take a shot. That's what we'll do. So they're holding on to the information. They're not going to reveal it quite yet. And they're going to wait until the HOH, which I do think is the correct move here. There are a lot of reasons why I think running to Esty and Kiki won't work even if they win power next week. In fact, almost more likely that that wouldn't work. I think there's a way to do this that can work, but that's way into analysis that's not part of updates. But basically, I think they need to go to Damien. Kiki and Esty trust Damien enough. Damien has enough confirmation from the guys, how much they've talked to him, what he's seen, that he would be able to help flip Esty and Kiki. But for right now, I think Esty and Kiki would be like, oh, the guys are working together to come after us, and the only way to solve it is for us to come together. Hey, Dane, guess what Chelsea just told us? Can you believe her? She's the worst. Pretty sure that's what would happen. And we'll get into why in just a little bit. Anyway, so they... As you may have realized at this point, they do not realize that Mark is a part of this. They see Mark as just somebody on the outside who is trying to run to power no matter where it goes, and they don't realize he is a part of the guys' alliance. They don't realize. Oh man, Chelsea was already so embarrassed. Can you imagine how embarrassed she's gonna be when she realizes that not only did this guys' alliance exist and did manipulate her and run her a bit here, but they're also called the Pretty Boys. Oh, I feel so bad for her. She's gonna be so upset. So they don't realize that Mark is a part of this. Mark, in many ways, who, we talked about probably being in the worst spot of the Pretty Boys, has all of a sudden gone into MVP status, where he's the only one left untouched at this point. He's the only one that nobody realizes is still part of that group. And it's in part because he has let the other guys do the work for him. He's never really stood up for the rest of the guys. They're always standing up for him, and so now he has the most amount of freedom if this comes out, at the very least. So Mark, all of a sudden, in one of the safer spots here for the Pretty Boys. Adam does eventually join them here, and they start questioning him about, like, so have you talked to Dane? Oh yeah. What was that conversation? What did you talk to Dane about? And he's just like, oh, we were just talking about the meeting, and he's just like, there's nothing new. Like she just revealed about her life, and that sort of thing. And they're like, anything about us? Did you just talk about any Sam or Chelsea? No, not really. Just, she mentioned it in their meeting, and, we talked about nothing new or anything. And you can see it's all over Sam's face, her body language. She is just like not comfortable, not happy, and it's really going to last the rest of the day, where she has a really hard time around Adam for the rest of the day, where she's just like really awkward around him, and constantly making remarks that are like kind of weird, and just like randomly dancing and being weird and awkward because she doesn't really know how to handle this. So we'll see how that goes there. But main headline here, it looks like the Pretty Boys have been exposed, but not entirely yet. There's still a lot that relies on what the next HOH is going to be, and or who the next HOH is going to be, and then how believable this will be. But here's the thing: even if people don't believe it, it will hinder the Pretty Boys, and it will limit them, because just because, like, say Chelsea and Sam go to Esty and Kiki, and Esty and Kiki don't believe them, well, it's still going to be in the back of their minds. And the freedom that Anthony and Dane have enjoyed in terms of like running around and talking to all kinds of people and all of that sort of thing, it will be limited, because this idea will be out there, and everything that they do that confirms that idea will be more dangerous for them. But it might not even come out next week. There's a chance it might not even come out next week. If, for instance, Adam wins HOH, then, he's just going to go after the, I don't know, Esty and Kiki or Eddie or someone. And Sam and Chelsea will probably just stay silent. And honestly, there's a chance they walk back on this idea. I don't think Kira will let them, though. That's probably the one thing there that's keeping it in place. But the Pretty Boys exposed, but not dead yet. They still have a lot of control in the house. In particular, and this is stuff we'll talk about for the rest of the update as well, Dane still has a stranglehold on Esty and Kiki. Anthony really has Corey in his back pocket at the moment, and I don't see Corey really flipping either. I think if they've talked about potentially going to Corey, maybe not, maybe they should, maybe not. If they went to Corey, I do think Corey would run it to Anthony. If they went to Esty and Kiki, I think they would run it to Dane. I think the people that they need to go to are Eddie and Damien. Damien in particular, because I think Damien can help sway Kiki and Esty, as I've talked about. The problem is, they don't trust Damien. They talked about how, is Damien part of this guy's thing? No, probably not, but we don't really trust him. And Damien is like the person who is most willing to go with them. Eddie, I think, would be kind of on board, but he also kind of talks trash about them all the time. So he's kind of a dangerous one. Damien is their best shot, and Damien can help them convince other people, but they don't trust Damien. And it's like, no, trust Damien. Do it. But they're not. So, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, other things that are going on during the day beyond this exposure that will likely have more ramifications later on. Oh, also, the first thing I thought of when I saw this happening was, hold on, is Sam's story true? Because we didn't really see her listening to the conversation. We saw the conversation itself, but we didn't see where Sam was necessarily. Is it possible that Sam saying that she overheard this conversation is a cover story for, hey, Sam received the top level video intel twists and had the Pretty Boys exposed there, or at least partially exposed there, and is just saying that she overheard this one conversation to cover the fact that she saw some video. It is definitely possible, but her story is very, very plausible given what we saw on the live feeds. So my guess is that she did not receive the twist and that she did overhear this conversation, which would be a blessing to everyone, because that would be lovely. But it seems likely that it is not the case that she got the twist, because she went she pretty much went right upstairs she went right to the HOH room after after she overheard the conversation to tell Chelsea, and like there wasn't a lot of time, I think, for her to like be in a room and see stuff. So it is pretty coincidental, as Katie points out in the chat. It's totally possible. It was my first thought, but I think I'm really hoping that it is not the case, and that this is something that happened naturally. But yeah, also, you know, I think that the partially to blame here is the Anthony Dane obsession with Sam, in particular when Anthony said to Adam yesterday, when I talked about this, when Anthony said to Adam that you know, Sam is playing you, she's plotting to get you out, and then Adam confronted Sam about this and said, are you trying to get me to turn against the guys? They had a big argument about it. I think that was still in her head. Like that was a big turning point for her to be thinking about this. Then she saw him talking with Dane, and then like this whole thing happened. So, you know, we'll see. But totally possible that this was a twist thing. I really hope not. I did actually have another thought about the twist, because we haven't really seen anything from it. We've been waiting for some kind of thing, and this really seems like it could be it, but also potentially not. You know, the feeds were down when we thought that something would happen. I don't know. It's possible, but it's also not possible. Or it's also possible that it's not. I'd have thought that, like, what if the twist was they got to see who voted for who? They got to see the diary room votes for this eviction. That's possible, right? You know, maybe that's why nothing has come of this yet. Or maybe it's Sam, or maybe it was Damien and he didn't really see anything, or maybe it was somebody that we don't realize, and they just saw something that was kind of inconsequential. I don't know. We'll find out tonight, hopefully. But you know, lots of stuff in the air. Anyway, moving on here. Eddie had a weird day with Kiki and Esti. Eddie talked to Kiki and then Esti a bit also, and the two of them together. Really just like, they just have such a strange relationship. I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, that they kind of had a contentious conversation, and you know, the day that we're talking about, day 19 in the Big Brother Canada 7 house, they just continued this contentious relationship where they have a conversation where they're like, Eddie's like, we're on the outs, we need to be bold. Like, what happened to the Kiki that was bold, that voted for Mackie to stay? And Kiki's like not having it and like being super defensive, and he's kind of like calling her a coward a little bit, and it's just like, it's very aggressive on both sides. And Kiki and Esti in particular are just very like against working with Eddie. They really just don't like him anymore. And it's a very strange thing. They should be working together, as Eddie says, that they're all kind of on the outs. But Kiki and Esti, part of this is that Dane is in their ear, talking about, oh, Eddie, he just runs to power. And they think that, and they've seen Eddie talking with Chelsea, and they know that Eddie has a good relationship with Chelsea, and they hate Chelsea. Chelsea, meanwhile, is having conversations with them, thinking that they're great conversations, not realizing how much, like, as soon as she leaves, they're like, F you, Chelsea. So that's, again, it's going to be a difficult sell for Chelsea and Sam to try and out the guys with Kiki and Esti. But they just have this whole saga during the day between Eddie and Kiki and Esti, and it's just not working out well for them. They really just can't get on the same page, which is unfortunate for Kiki and Esti, because, again, thinking about if Sam and Chelsea are going to try and expose the pretty boys to Kiki and Esti, Kiki and Esti, you know, I thought about this a lot. We were on Twitch talking about this, you know, this when the pretty boys got outed. Thinking about it, like, Kiki and Esti honestly don't really have much incentive to turn. They're only allies right now because they're so insular and they barely talk to anybody outside of Dane. Their only allies are Dane. They love Anthony and a little bit Mark, because even though they hate him, they have kept that connection. That's 3 of 4 pretty boys. they kind of have no incentive to turn. They kind of just have an incentive to be like, hey, guys, look at what they're saying. Go after them. And then the women will be going after the guys, and the guys will be going after those women, and they'll be sitting there just hanging out because nobody will come for them. So it's going to be a tough sell. We're going to see how that goes. Because look, Dane is also going to have a conversation with them yesterday where he talks about, because here's another thing. He talks about how he has a good relationship with Adam and that he feels like Adam is potentially willing to turn on Sam. He really feels like that's the case. And Esty and Kiki are like, yes, that's wonderful. We want to work with Adam. We love that you have a relationship with Adam. And if he's willing to turn on Sam, that's great. That's great for us. We'll get the guys on our side. You know what? We also love Anthony. He was talking to us earlier. He's so great. He's like a mentor. He's wonderful. And so like if Chelsea and Sam go to Esty and Kiki and say, look, the guys are working together, here's our proof. Adam had a conversation with Dane about potentially cutting Sam and Chelsea. They're going to be like, yeah, Dane told us about that days ago. That's great for us. It's not great for you. Sorry. So, you got to watch out there. So they talked about how much they like Anthony. They are, they like Damien a lot, obviously. But Dane is their guy. Dane is the guy, and it's really just it's unfortunate because as soon as Kiki went off the block, they have completely just isolated themselves again. They are basically just like hanging out with each other, and any interaction with the outside world goes through Dane. Dane filters all information from the outside world into the Kiki and Esty world, and their entire universe in the house is basically the information is controlled by Dane. And it's really sort of put them in this position where their only allies are the Pretty Boys. So it's not great for them. Retro Ranch wanted to know, is Dane already more with Esty and Kiki than with the Pretty Boys? I don't think so. I think that he is still with the Pretty Boys. Dane is almost like the Lane, which is weird actually that their names are so similar. Dane is very much like the Lane of the Pretty Boys, where I do think that given enough time, he would be willing to betray the rest of the Pretty Boys for Esty. But for now, their motivations, their goals coincide, right? Where using Esty and Kiki the way that he is beneficial for his alliance. And so working hand in hand with both is going to be great all the way through toward the end. I don't think he would stick his neck out for Kiki. And if it ever came down to Pretty Boys versus Esty, I think he's hoping that is way far down the line. And by then he might be willing to turn on the Pretty Boys. But I'm willing to guess that if they tried to turn on Esty sooner than that, he would fight against that. Somebody like Anthony or Adam would push too hard, and then he would be like, you guys are pushing too hard. You don't care about my feelings. This is not okay. Ending the alliance. Something like that might happen with Dane. But if it was just a choice between, say Esty was on the block versus, Anthony, he might actually make sure that Anthony stays there as long as it's not being pushed too hard by the other guys. So I think it's kind of up in the air right now, but toward the end of the game, I do think he would eventually be Esty over the guys, which, yes, guys, definitely hypocritical of Dane. It's part of his MO. Let's see here. Do you think Anthony and Dane are beginning to see Adam as a liability? Not in particular. I think that they obviously don't trust him with Sam, but I don't think they see him as a liability. I think that they still see him as a nice juicy target in front of them and a big distraction for the rest of them. I don't think they're going to turn on him anytime soon. They don't tell him everything. They try to manipulate him, but I don't think they see him as a liability so much as a tool to be used, and they don't want to lose that tool. Marcy wants to know, were there any revelations from last night's broadcast episode that were not on the feeds? Not in particular. No. All right. Let's move forward here. Anthony is going to talk with Corey. As I mentioned, Corey really kind of in Anthony's back pocket here. They talk about the Caelynn vote, and Corey seems like she really is on the fence here. She kind of would like for Caelynn to stay, but she's kind of either way. Either way is fine. And you know what? If we voted for Caelynn to stay, it would be showing our cards. It would be exposing ourselves. So I don't know if it's worth it. What do you think, Anthony? Tell me what to do. And Anthony says, here's what you need to do. Because that's all Anthony does. And Anthony, I don't even know how to recap what Anthony says, because he just talks in circles and it's all over the place. But it's basically something along the lines of, when Mackie was here, he did a lot of things. And now this week, lots of things. And if you think about it, in the short term versus the long term, what do all these players have in common? I don't know. They're followers. What does that mean? They'll follow the power? Yes, which means we should keep Damian? No, it means Damian should stay. Right. But at the same time, Caelynn would be very beneficial in some ways. But if we did that, we have to show some of our cards. And that long term is kind of dangerous because they're followers. Yes. So I think that's something along the lines of how that conversation went. But basically, I think Corey comes away from this conversation like, it would be great if we could keep Caelynn, but I don't think we're going to. Then Anthony goes to Kiki and Esty and Dane, and he throws out this idea. Hey, could we keep Caelynn? What do you think about that? And Kiki is actually pretty receptive to it. She's kind of like, you know what? Maybe. And he kind of does the same, like, long-term followers, short-term thing. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But they are eating it up. Kiki and Esty, this is kind of their first real taste of Mentor Anthony, like full force Mentor Anthony, and they love it. Kiki is like, Anthony, this is amazing. Please just talk to me all day long. I love it. You're so confident. You're just like, you're like a guru. Just tell me all the things. Like that's almost a direct quote, guys. And so they're like fully like, just tell us what to do, Anthony. Either way is fine for us. We were thinking that, we know that Damian is going after Adam and Sam, so Damian is probably better than, Caelynn at competition, so we thought it was better to keep Damian, but what do you think, Anthony? And Anthony does his whole thing about the long-term, short-term followers, blah, 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 and they eventually kind of stay along the lines of keeping Damian. And I've got to say, I almost tweeted this out. I was really thinking, this is just Anthony proving to himself or to us or to somebody, like, hey, I just want everyone to know I can flip this vote if I want to. Easily. I can get Corey, I can get Esty, I can get whoever I want. I can flip this vote. It's just a matter of, do I want to do it? Do I? Is it worth it? Just letting everyone know, look how easily I flipped these people. Look how easily I flipped these people. I can do it if I want. It's like, okay, Anthony, I get it. Just choose already. Because just this morning, he took what Kiki said about how Damian is going after Sam and Adam, and he went to Adam and Sam with it, and he said, hey, guys, Damian's coming after you, just so you know. And now he's just proving to himself that he can flip Sam and Adam if he wanted to. Because he ends that conversation like, oh, maybe we won't, though. Maybe we will. I don't know. It's just like, I get it, Anthony. You're good. You can flip people. Fine. You did it last week. You can do it this week. Just, I want to know what's going to happen on tonight on the eviction. Stop making it so complicated. I'm pretty sure Damien's going to stay, by the way. Just don't worry too much about that. But just be aware that Anthony is completely 100% capable of flipping this vote. If he decides a couple hours from now, you know what? I want Damien gone. He can make it happen. I don't think it would be good for his game, but he's totally capable of it, and that means that anything is technically possible tonight. Just throwing that out there. All right. Other things that are still happening last night and not this morning. Kira was doing some work here with Esty and Kiki. Kira is trying to pretend that they're not as close with Chelsea as some people might think. In particular, their main strategy here is to pretend that they didn't know about the Caelynn backdoor, that they were left in the dark. So Esty and Kiki buy into this. They actually kind of believe that, oh, maybe Kira really isn't as close with Chelsea as we think. I never would have thought anybody would buy this, given how much of a shadow Kira is to Chelsea, but they do actually kind of buy into this idea, and they start to think that they can flip Kira. Part of their whole thing with Eddie is that, as I talked about a few days ago, they initially had an idea when Kiki was still on the block to potentially make up a lie about Kira to try and flip Chelsea against Kira, and they were making up that plan with Eddie, and he was bringing that up like, hey, I still know this about you, and they were like, hey, don't threaten us. Like I said, very weird relationship between those two groups of people, but anyway, they kind of feel like they have an in with Kira and that they might be able to flip them. And Kira is completely playing them at this point. Kira runs to Chelsea and is like, hey, I think it's working. I think they're believing that I'm not super close to you. And Chelsea loves this. Chelsea is like, great. We're getting in with them. We're building this relationship so that it'll be more believable when we come to them about the guys' alliance. It'll be great. It's like, no, they like it because they think that Kira's going to go against you because they hate you. You're not making inroads with them. They hate you. Chelsea, her thing all day was she was shaken about this guy's alliance revelation. And so to hide the fact that she was shaken, she was pretending to be emotional and upset about Caelynn, about how Caelynn exposed, or how Caelynn talked about her life story and how she felt bad for Caelynn, and she doesn't want to look like a mean person in front of Canada, and so she kind of went around the house all day with that story, like, oh, I just feel so bad, and this was like the wrong thing for Kiki and Esty, who are just like, she's so annoying, she's freaking out because of Caelynn like telling her life story. Get over it, Chelsea. Oh my God, she's the worst. It's just, it's pretty fun. I'm having a lot of fun here because it's one thing when the big alliance is exposed and then they get crushed and then there's a new big alliance. It's another thing when the big alliance gets exposed, but it's still contentious. Like, there's still a lot of obstacles. It's just like the guy's control over the house has been limited, and now it's like it's a fight for influence and power. I'm loving the dynamics in the house right now. We'll see what happens with the HOH. So Chelsea and Kira are talking, and the only problem here is that, as I mentioned, Chelsea had a hard time believing that the guys were playing her in the first place. And now that like half a day has passed and she's been thinking about it more, she's starting to actually doubt this. She's like, I actually feel like it's not particularly likely, right? Right, Kira? They're just not smart enough. They're not smarter than me. It's not true. I don't believe that they've tricked me. I really don't think it's the case. We're gonna play like it maybe is, and here's the thing. Even if it's not true, we're still gonna use this story with the twins if they win HOH. We're gonna go to them and we're gonna say the guys are working together. But I think it might not. There's a chance it's not true, right? I don't think they're that smart. To come in on day one and be playing us this whole time? No. They're not smarter than me. I don't believe it. So she's really doubting this a little bit here, but still willing to use this story, still willing to use the theory to try and flip some of the women against the guys if that comes up. So whether or not she believes it, the idea is out there. The damage is kind of done here. So it's not like a huge deal that she's having trouble believing it, especially because I think Kira will definitely still push through on the idea regardless. I think Kira, first of all, still does believe it, and even if they don't believe it, Kira's motivation here is that Kira's not in with those guys. This is a great theory for Kira. So even if Kira decided it wasn't true, Kira would want to push this through like it was true 100%. So, there you go. So we also had Sam and Adam. They had a long conversation late at night as well. More awkward stuff here. Sam is kind of like questioning Adam about certain things, like trying to test him, see if he will lie to her. Like, what kind of conversations have you had here? What did you think about with Dane here? And also like making weird comments about like, at one point she says, I should have just let you showmance with Esty and then I would have been safe in the trio with Dane. And he was like, what? What are you saying? And she was like, like they have like a thing over there. And like, it's like, what? She's like, I just feel like sometimes it's safer to be an underdog. It's like, it's an underdog? What are you talking about? She was like, I don't know. And he's like, it feels like you're regretting getting close to me. She was like, no, Adam, I like you. And they continue the conversation. Adam eventually starts talking about like, you know what? If we got put up on the block together, I would think about if I won the veto, like I'd maybe use it on you, because if you came down and then they nominated somebody like Chelsea next to me, I think I'd have the votes to stay. So I'd want to try and use the veto on you. And now obviously this kind of confirms, right? Like this is more evidence that there is a guy alliance that exists. But it also kind of indicates to Sam, I think, because she has a little bit of a tone change after this, that if there is a guys alliance, maybe Adam and his guy alliance are protecting me. Maybe Adam having this power wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if he was using it to help me. And so she starts talking about Anthony, and she starts talking about Dane, and how like, well, you would make sure they didn't come after me, right? And he was like, yeah, of course. Like I mean, I can't control them, of course, because I'm not aligned with them or anything. But I mean, I could totally try and make sure they don't come after you, and stuff like that. And then she starts talking about like their relationship and how he's like her perfect man, that he appreciates all of the little mannerisms and things that she always wanted people to appreciate but nobody ever does, and he's beautiful and his body is amazing, and I'm not gonna get into it too much more because I know you guys don't like it, but basically she went a little gaga-eyed there, and I think that the sort of bad guys for doing the things, it dissipated a little bit, and she is kind of back with the like, oh, but look at him kind of thing. She's still a little bit awkward, she's still a little bit weird, but the anti pretty boy fervor has died down a little between Chelsea sort of starting to doubt the theory and Sam kind of going back to Adam and feeling like, but he's so pretty. And he's so, all of the things that she likes about him. She's like, she's talking about like I've never felt this way about anyone before, and I understand that you felt this way before, but it's fine. It's like, whoa, okay. So just be aware. Be aware. The pretty boys are exposed, but they're not dead. Not dead. All right, let me know if you have any questions, because that's about what I've got for you from the day. I can tell you again for a little bit from this morning is, as I mentioned, Anthony went to Adam and Sam and told them about Damien coming after them. Adam then had another conversation with Damien where Damien did a great job at convincing Adam that, no, I would never come after you. I'm with the boys. I want to work with the boys. Adam was completely swayed by this. It looks like Adam is still completely on board with keeping Damien, as is Chelsea. Chelsea said to the cameras and to Adam, there's no way I'm letting Caelynn stay. No. Sam seemed potentially a little bit willing to flip. She was a little bit in her own head, but I don't see her flipping at all. So they're still firm on keeping Damien. However, as I mentioned, I think the more dangerous thing for Damien is that last night, Anthony proved himself to be completely capable of flipping Esty and Kiki if he wanted to. Dane has been kind of back and forth all week long, and so I think if Esty and Kiki were flipped, he would go along with Anthony as well, which means that they would have the votes along with Corey, and even Eddie would probably go along with that as well. So if Anthony wants to, he can say the word and Damien's gone. He's been going around. He's been going back and forth. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but it is possible. So if feeds could go down, we could get spoilers that Damien leaves 6-4, 7-3. So just again, be aware of that possibility. I don't think it's particular. Like it's more likely that Caelynn leaves, but it's would be so easy for Damien to leave right now. So just be very, 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 very aware, so you're not blindsided. All right, let's see here. What percent chance does Caelynn have to stay? Honestly, I would give it like 35% chance, because it's basically just up to Anthony. It's like a guru. Do I think Anthony is playing too hard, too fast? He has no reason to care who goes home this week. Yeah, I do. I think that, again, he's probably the best. I don't even want to say the best player. He has the best skills in the house at playing the game, but he's so excited about using them that he doesn't use them to their best effect. And so he does all kinds of things that he doesn't need to. But he's still so good in so many different aspects that he has not been in a lot of trouble yet. There was a funny moment where Chelsea, after the immediate revelation of the Guys Alliance, was like, oh my God, I've effed up. I've effed up so much. Oh my God, I told Adam about Dane. I told Adam about Anthony. Anthony probably knows about that. That means I thought I was good with Anthony. I thought I was on to him, but he's probably on to me. He's probably coming after me. Oh, I effed up so bad. She doesn't want to believe that she's effed up so bad. I think that's part of why she doesn't want to believe that it's true. So, in the past 24 hours, who most improved their position in the house and who did the worst? Honestly, with the revelations about the Guys Alliance, the people that benefit the most are the people who are not involved in any of this. Corey, Esty a bit, Kiki a bit, Damien, as long as he stays, Eddie. Those are people who could have easily been casualties of the Pretty Boys' domination. But with Esty and Kiki going after Sam and Chelsea, and then if Sam and Chelsea are able to flip them against the guys, then it's either they'll go after Sam and Chelsea, or they'll go after the Pretty Boys. Sam and Chelsea and Kira will either go after the Pretty Boys, or they'll go after Esty and Kiki because they can't flip them. But they probably won't go after Esty and Kiki because they'll probably feel like they need to go after the pretty boys. So they'll probably be going after Dane or Anthony. And then you've got the pretty boys themselves who are still going after Chelsea and Sam. So Chelsea and Sam and Kira, who previously were going after Esty and Kiki, are now going to be probably going after the pretty boys, which really just gives more protection to Esty and Kiki, and it gives another reason for them to feel like this is great for us. Go ahead, go after the pretty boys. We're still going to work with them because you're going to go after them first. It's basically like what Chelsea thought she had was a bunch of guys who were big targets in front of her. She's now realized potentially that these guys are not shields, that she's actually the shield. And so she's like, that's terrible. I need to get a bunch of women to come together and take out these guys. But if she goes to Esty and Kiki, they might be able to realize that they also thought they had a bunch of guys who were shields in front of them. If Chelsea goes to them and says, hey, guess what? These guys were not shields. They're running the house. We need to go after them. Esty and Kiki will be like, so what you're telling us is they weren't shields, but now they are because you're going after them. So nothing has really changed for us. I think that might be. I don't even know if it'll be that logical, to be honest. I think they might just not even believe it. But even if they were thinking logically, that is kind of a decent response there because it does put them in a pretty great position to play the middle between those two groups. Anyway. Corey seems most loyal to Anthony right now. Yes, I agree. If she was told about the pretty boys, I do think she would go to him. Grace is curious if I think the blood veto is going to be put into play sooner or later. And who gets it because Damien saw it on night one. I think it will go to whoever they want it to go to, and I think it will be a bit further on in the game. Who needs to win HOH tonight or they'll be in danger? Sam needs to win to protect herself and Chelsea. The guys need to win to protect themselves from Sam and Chelsea and Kira. At this point, because going into next week, the people in danger were Sam, Chelsea, Esty, Kiki, Eddie, Damien-ish, like those people were in trouble. Now it's more like Sam, Chelsea, Anthony, Dane, because Anthony and Dane will be in danger if Kira or Sam wins the HOH. Which, if it's an endurance, which there's been lots of talk that it might be endurance, very real chance that somebody like Sam has a great shot at it. I think Damien would have a decent shot. Eddie, I think, will have a very good chance. And then both Kiki and Esty, I think, will have a decent chance at this. So lots of people that aren't the guys and lots of people that will come after the guys potentially going to have a good chance of winning. So watch out for that. Is Dane in the most danger of the pretty boys? He is the biggest target from Sam and Chelsea's point of view, but I do think that Esty and Kiki, if they have anything to say about it, will want to protect him. So it's too early to tell because the information about the pretty boys is not spread yet. If Adam wins HOH, do you think he'll go after Kiki, Esty, or do what the pretty boys want and go after Sam and Chelsea? If Adam wins, I do believe he will go after Eddie or something like that. He might go after Kiki if Dane says don't go after Esty, but fine about Kiki. But I think he'll probably try to go after a third part. Adam's one of the few people I think that would like really just go after one of those floaters. Because he would, I do not think he would go after Chelsea. He honestly might go after Kira. But I don't think he would nominate Sam. I don't think he would nominate Chelsea himself. The best way for the pretty boys' dominance to fall apart is for Esty and Kiki to communicate with Chelsea. Well, here's to Mark and Anthony final two. I think the best way is for Sam and Chelsea to go to Damien because Damien has the credibility with Esty and Kiki to convince them. But they don't trust Damien. If Damien wins this HOH, be prepared for everything to change, because Sam and Chelsea will go to Damian. Damian will believe them because he saw on night one about the whole thing. It will click with him, plus the fact that he's constantly being approached by the boys to work with them, and he doesn't really want to. This will 100% click with him. He will believe them. He will be in power. He will be able to approach Esty and Kiki. They trust him. They think he's honest. He has some level of proof and ways to back this up, and he's also in power. I think they will believe him, and then the pretty boys will be done. So root for Damian HOH if you want to see the pretty boys fail. Yes, I know Damian made a deal with Adam this morning, but he doesn't like him. He doesn't care. Let's see. Should Kira try for HOH or try to remain under the radar? Kira should try to win HOH. And here's why. I think that Kira's in a great spot to just kind of like float along to the end, but they are going to have trouble winning a jury vote. And so if they won an HOH, but it's also seemed like there are still bigger targets than Kira, Sam and Chelsea will remain bigger targets than Kira, even if they win HOH this week. So, but winning HOH this week will help them build up a resume for the end game if they then, slide back under the radar and make it toward the end, especially if they can say that they broke up the pretty boys. So I would say probably a good thing if they won it. Kira is a safe nom for the house. Yes. That's another reason, because they're definitely in a little bit of danger here if the wrong thing happens. Prediction on the HOH competition. Yeah, we're thinking it's potentially an endurance thing, which would be fun if we saw it in the feeds. So, all right, that's what we've got for you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, or joining me today, I should say, for another fun update. I'm really I'm enjoying the season. I think people have been a little skeptical, but things are working out pretty well so far. This could all come crashing down if it turns out this whole thing happened because of a twist, because that's pretty lame. But for now, things are working pretty well, and looks like Sam and Adam are arguing right now in the feeds. What are you gonna do? But thank you guys for joining me. You can find me on Twitter at ArmstrongTaryn. We will be live tonight, and I believe Rob will be joining us tonight after the eviction to talk about what goes down. Potentially, Damian could be leaving if Anthony just decides. So be prepared for that. And then also this new HOH could change everything in the house. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about tonight. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, I will be back at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother Canada 7 live feeds. And Monday night, we got a roundtable for you. So lots to come. Make sure you get your stock watch decisions in today before 3 p.m. Eastern if you are playing along at home. And I'll see you next time.